Greetings, friends! In this video, I want to show you a couple of ways that we can use Lightroom's masking tools to add additional light into our portraits. Nothing that we're going to do today is very hard, but before we get started, let me warn you that this is not intended to be an introductory level tutorial. If masking in Lightroom is new for you, then please watch some of my other in-depth tutorials on these amazing tools before you dive into this more advanced topic. With that said, let's jump right in and let's get started. If you want top-notch results when you're out shooting any type of image, especially portraits, then it pays to do everything right during your photo shoot. In this photo, for example, I should have used a bank of studio lights to illuminate my subjects before I snapped this picture. I should have used some strobes or a big reflector to throw more light onto my subjects, but I didn't have any of that gear with me at the time. So to fix that flaw as best I can, I'm going to open up the masking panel, and then I'm going to use the Select Subject command to create a new mask. If I turn the overlay on here, then you can see that the area that Lightroom selected for me is now covered with that red rubylith. And in this case, Lightroom did a great job isolating my family. Since the area that the AI engine selected is perfect, I can dial in some changes over here in the masking panel at this point without the need for additional mask refinements. These changes are enough to make my subjects appear better lit, and I could stop here, but since I have such a perfect mask, I might as well also make them appear a little warmer and a hint more detailed. There we go. Now, it looks like I lit this portrait with a giant softbox. On some images, this might be enough, but since we have this excellent mask, we might as well flip it over and use its opposite to control the background. To do that, I'm going to bring the cursor up here to the three little dots icon, and then I'll choose the Duplicate and Invert Mask option. When I do this, Lightroom will create a second mask group that targets everything but my people. On this layer, I'm going to make the background a little darker, colder, and less detailed. Let's see what we've accomplished using just these two masks. To see this image without any of the mask changes, I can tap on this light switch here at the top of the masking panel to temporarily disable both masks. From this to this in no time. This portrait looks so much better to me, and relighting this image was fast and easy. Next, let me show you another image and another technique. My goal here is to add some soft golden accent light into select parts of Sarah's face only. So to do that, I'm going to open up the masking panel, and then I'm going to wait for the Select Person command to do its magic. Once this icon appears down here, I'm going to click on Person 1, and then another menu will appear. Now, in the last image, I wanted to create the appearance of a big broad light source that was shining everywhere on my subjects. In the previous example, I wanted my subjects and their clothes to get brighter, but this time I want to be far more precise. So to create a much more targeted mask group, I'm going to tap on the face skin and body skin options only. Next, I'm going to uncheck the option down here that says create two separate masks. Disabling that switch tells Lightroom that I want both types of the skin that it can identify, her face and her body, all inside of the same mask group. To better understand what I'm about to do next, I think that it might be helpful if I switch my mask overlay mode to the white on black option for the next few minutes. Now, if I turn the overlay on, then what you're looking at is much like the type of diagram that we call a layer mask inside of Adobe Photoshop. In this overlay mode, the white areas on the screen represent the parts of this image that this mask is about to change. The black in this overlay mode, the black covers over the areas where the changes that I make with this mask will have no effect. If I wanted to make some change that affects all of her skin, then this would be good enough. But real precision here is my goal. So now I'm going to come up to the three little dots icon, and then I'm going to choose the Intersect Mask with the brush option. When I do that, another element will appear in my mask group. Next, I'm going to set up my brush so that it's reasonably small with 100% feather and a very reduced flow. I'm also going to make sure that the auto mask option is turned off, since that feature will not do me any good here. Now, I'm going to bump the exposure slider up, and I'll dial in a couple of other minor changes too. At this point, you might be wondering why I turned the brush on or added that additional intersect command. I added these steps so that I can brush the changes that this mask group makes in only where my paint strokes plus the mask for her skin overlap. What's so cool about this technique, what I call beauty light brushing, is that with my reduced flow brush, I can paint soft little accents of light under her eyes, around her nose, and under her chin. As I drag the brush around, I'm adding a hint of warm light only into the areas that I touch. And since my brush is at a reduced flow, I can slowly build up more and more of this effect wherever I want by painting back and forth over the same area again and again. Unlike our last example, this technique for adding light is soft and gentle. Before I show you the impact that my brush work has had on this image, let me turn the mask overlay on again. What I hope you can see here is that A, I don't have to worry while I'm painting about accidentally changing her hat or any of the background. Lightroom's incredible Detect Skin command took care of that potential problem. Second, by using a reduced flow brush in intersect mode, I'm able to vary the strength of the changes that this mask makes across the surface of her face. In the places where the gray shades of the mask are brighter, around her eyes, for example, more of that warm light is getting introduced into this image. And in the places where the gray is a darker shade, less of my beauty brush is having an effect. Now that you've seen what's going on beneath the hood, let me turn this overlay off. Let me close the masking panel. And now, let me split my screen so that you can see a complete before and after. On the left is the image that we started with today. The results here are not as dramatic as our first example, but I think those additional hints of light have made the image on the right into a much more pleasing portrait. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you learned something today, then please hit the subscribe button and leave us a like or a comment down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in our next tutorial.